So in Digital Performer 11, we can export stems in two ways. We can print the audio, or we can export tracks with audio through. This allows us to export stems without having to actually spend the time printing the audio into the session. Whichever way we choose to go, we need to do some basic setup. So as you see in the video, I set up some basic MIDI tracks and I'm importing 4 different instruments into my Kontakt. You see that they are all set to a different MIDI in, and if we click up here, we can open our output browser. Now see how there's only one output set? We can manually add outputs by clicking here and doing output 3, output 4, or we can perform a batch function, which will clear all the outputs and create a separate channel for each of the instruments in the Kontakt instance. Now what you're going to notice is the only instrument we hear sound out of is the one coming out of outputs 1 and 2. So even though the audio is being triggered inside of Kontakt, there is nowhere in Digital Performer receiving the audio. So what we're going to do is create a couple aux tracks in our VRAC and set the output of those aux tracks to the same bus that is the input of our mix bus. And then we will set the input of the aux tracks to the output of the Kontakt instance. So scroll all the way down to New Stereo Bundle and you'll see your Kontakt instance has available buses we can do. Now if we were to change the name of the instrument track, it will also update the name of the buses here. Cool, so that totally worked. We could hear all of our buses and everything is coming to the mix bus. Now let's set another bus in between the aux track and the mix bus for each separate instrument from the Kontakt instrument. So what we're going to do is just add 4 new stereo tracks, and we are going to set the input of each one of these to a different bus that has not been used yet. And we're going to set the output of all 4 of these to the mix bus. Next, what we want to do is set the output of the aux tracks to the same bus that corresponds with the stereo track for that instrument. Now, I made a mistake right here. I caught it. But be sure that the instrument track itself is included in the buses. So the main out 1 and 2 of Kontakt still gets audio here. So that was going to bus 445 and 446 in my session. And I just corrected that mistake. Cool, so this is where things get different. We can record the audio tracks now and print the stems like so. And this was just accomplished by hitting record enable on the tracks and letting them record. We can then go to File, Export Selected Sound Bites to export these highlighted stems. The other option is much more similar to how Cubase exports stems, which is to export audio through. So to do this, we have to make sure we go to File, Bounce Settings, and Bounce includes audio through. Now, as you can see in my session, my input monitoring is disabled, which means when I go to bounce, I will not get any audio. But now that I enable my input monitoring, any audio that passes through these stereo tracks are bounceable. So go to Bounce to Disk, hit Tracks, and you can select anything on the right-hand side that you want to bounce a stem for. In the file name, it is a prefix and then the track. So that's the naming convention that occurs right here. Hit OK, and it'll bounce your stems. Now you can create any sort of stem, stripe, or subgroup that you want. You just have to set up the appropriate routing. But the methods and routine is all the same, and hopefully you found this helpful.